Labour's attempts to come to terms with its worst defeat since 1935 have been as painful as they are predictable. The party simply can't understand how it lost to an Eton-educated Tory. Don't voters know what's good for them? We even offered them free broadband. But people rarely vote on their own narrow material interest, rather on what they think is best for the country as a whole. They clearly didn't think Jeremy Corbyn believed in Britain or had the nation's best interests at heart. Now, one of Mr Corbyn's disciples, Rebecca Long-Bailey, has recognised this. In her leadership pitch in The Guardian, she has called for Labour to adopt progressive patriotism to bring the country together. She is suggesting that Labour's electoral problem was not just opposition to Brexit but its ambivalence regarding the nation. Ms Long-Bailey doesn't see why patriotism should be the property of the right. We should celebrate Lancashire mill workers who supported Abraham Lincoln's anti-slavery blockade of cotton from the American South. But even this tentative and politically correct version of patriotism proved too much for the guardians of Labour purity on Twitter. She was taken to task for spreading loathsome nonsense, Tory light, dog whistle nationalism. Progressive patriotism is an oxymoron, said one critic, like humane fascism. For many supporters of Jeremy Corbyn, love of country is irremediably toxic. During the long Brexit culture war, this attitude finally alienated Labour's older, socially conservative voters in the Midlands and north of England. The question is whether Labour has the will or the capacity to win them back. It would have to go a lot further than history lessons about anti-slavery. Can you imagine Momentum activists saying how much they love Britain and its history? Can you hear David Lammy say that, actually, Britain is not a racist country? Mr Corbyn saying that the British Empire wasn't all bad? Imagine Ms Long-Bailey saying that our armed forces are the best of British. Or that most men are kind and loving fathers and not part of an oppressive patriarchy. Twitter would go into meltdown if Labour started talking about controlling immigration. I just can't see Labour becoming patriotic in a way Northern English voters would recognise. Stormzy would be furious. The Guardian would say it had gone populist, fascist, even. But the inconvenient truth is that many voters just seem hardwired to regard their community and their country with pride. It is a lot to do with accentuating the positive. The relentless miserabilism of the left leaves people with nothing to feel good about. It's like watching a permanent Ken Loach film. Scottish nationalists used to make the same mistake of revelling in miserabilism. They banged on about how Scotland was impoverished and demeaned by England and how they'd st. For more on this story, visit the news article link.